With medicinal plants, I cannot give specific targeted medical advice. That's illegal. I'm not an MD. What I can tell you is the traditional uses and what Western science has found for the medicinal plants. If it sounds like I'm giving you medical advice, that's just a misunderstanding on your part. Please don't get me in jail.
Fruit off. But do we have any around that still have fruit?
There's one over, but it's little. I thought I seen it coming.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, so let's. You can see the fruit there. So the fruit. The way I harvest that, I'll have barbecue tongs and a knife, and I'll cut it off, drop it into my bag, take it home. I have a gas range. Hopefully you have a gas range, not an electric, because electric is not going to work. Turn on the fire, and then I start burning the little needles off it. And they're called glochids. They're this little, tiny, nasty little needles. After that, I'll take it, and I'll just mash it up and strain it through some cheesecloth. All I want from it is the juice, in my case. The juice flavor-wise has a nice raspberry sort of flavor. It's sweet, it's delicious. The pulp left over is going to be filled with tiny little seeds and pulp and unburned needles and so forth. Sometimes I'll take the seeds out of those and toast them and grind them into a flour. But generally I just Johnny Appleseed them around to get more prickly pears. The juice, once you have it, you can boil it down into a syrup. You can make a jam, jelly, wine out of it. Think of it as just blackberry juice. So whatever you can do with the blackberry, you can do with the juice of the tuna, the fruit. I don't want to, because then I'll be picking little glitches out of my feet. Ow! Anyway. Yeah, so you can eat it, but like I said, it's filled with little hard seeds. Those seeds aren't edible. Raw, they're kind of canned, but if you toast them, the flavor becomes much better. One of the things I have is just a jar of seeds. I'll collect the prickly pear, amaranth, lamb's quarter, just all these different seeds that can be ground into flour and just mix them all together. Because any one, I'm not going to have enough usually to do anything with. But after 4 or 5 months, I'll have a pretty good jar and just mix it all together and treat it the same. Also with the seeds, you can boil them and crush them up into kind of like a porridge sort of flavor. If you still have some of the juice, that helps flavor it quite a bit. Because the seeds by themselves, they're like slightly bitter oatmeal. Not too bad, but if you've ever had just raw oatmeal with no maple sugar or anything like that, it's kind of not so good. That's what a lot of the seeds taste like. The pads, especially the young pads, are another good thing to take. So you can buy these at Walmart and so forth. Again, I like to scorch the outside to burn off the needles. And then depending on the size, like the younger ones, yeah, okay, when it's still kind of soft, softer than a pink pet eraser, the rubber erasers you got one, you get in school, you want it softer than that, so it's still nice and tender. And then you just cut it up. Normally I treat it like green beans. So just slice it into strips, and then whatever recipe calls for green beans, like the green bean casserole with the beans and the mushroom soup and the French fried onions on top, this sort of thing, you can just replace it right in there. It's going to be slimy. You think okra is slimy. This is even slimier. So I found if you soak it for about 2 hours, after you slice it up, soak it in ice water for about 2 hours. That helps do something to the slime. I don't know if it just thickens it up, so then when you cook it, it doesn't have time to ooze out or something. But I find the results are a lot better, less slimy if you just cool it down for about 2 hours first. Another thing that's become real popular, and you can do this with even the bigger pads, is you collect those and you take the outer skin off, and you need like a sharp knife and just kind of cut the skin off. You'll probably find some thick veins in it. You got to pull those out, and what you're left is just this kind of soft, floppy piece of cactus that then you make jerky out of. So whatever your jerky seasonings, if you make venison jerky, beef jerky, things like that, you can do the same with the cactus. Sprinkle it on there. Coat both sides, throw it in your dehydrator. You have to run it a while, but it shrinks down, it turns dark. You basically made vegan jerky. So, and then you can go to the farmer's market and sell it to a fortune to the hippies. See, I'm going to give you some money-making ideas here.
But up.
Hey. So yeah, so the cactus jerky. I mean, it tastes like seasoning. So it's this jerky made from a cactus. So those are the main things that you can get from the cactus. So the fruit. Oh, in the spring, the flowers. They'll have the nice big yellow flowers. You can eat those. Native Americans, there were some soups that they made out of those. You can also make a fritter out of them. So you batter it and deep fry it. I mean, sure, you batter and deep fried cauliflower, it tastes good. But you can do the same with the flowers here. It's a really good thing. There's also some minor evidence that the flowers help control sugar levels if you have diabetes. I can't remember now if it's type 1 or type 2, but one where you have excess sugar in your blood, not enough insulin, it helps control the release or the sugar in your bloodstream. But that the jury's still, it's tentative, small effects right now. Okay, creeping all through here, and this is where all through here we have the dewberry vine. And pass it around. I recommend holding it up the. Okay, I'll just hold it. I'm a professional, I know what I'm doing. Okay, so dewberries and blackberries. If it creeps along the ground in a vine, that's a dewberry. If it's an upright, thick cane, that's a blackberry. Now the thing is, they're very close genetically, and they can cross-pollinate, and you get all sorts of weird hybrids going on. You get like a thick vine creeping along, or occasionally get some vines going up, but they're all going to have the same thorny vein, and then we have the leaf, the 5-membered leaf, tooth, things like that. This time of year, people look at it and they go, there's no fruit on here. This is in the spring. It has the dewberry, the blackberry leaf, dewberries and the blackberries, the fruit. And so most people, that's when they think there's food on here. Well, actually, all these leaves here, basically this is just, I cut it specifically to get these size leaves. If you dry these, they make a good blackberry, dewberry flavored tea. So you can use it to make a tea. Normally, people will use the flower in the spring to make the tea. But if you use the flower, then you don't get the fruit. And I prefer the fruit to the flower, especially when I can get later on, pretty much after all the fruit is gone. Anytime the fruit is gone after that, that's when you start taking the leaves. Now there is a trick to maximize the flavor. You need to age the leaves for about 2 weeks. Let me explain that. I'm just going to hang that there. It's really poking. Okay, if you know your plant biology, plants have what's called a cell wall around them. It's a rigid, hard structure. Plants don't have skeletons. They get their structure from their outer surface of the cells. This is a thick, strong barrier, and if you just take these leaves and drop them in hot water, all the chemicals that are inside the cell are going to stay trapped in there. They can't get out into the water. But if you, well, let me go this way. Plants are very loving to the earth. So they know when they die, if they kept that cell wall intact, all the nutrients and the minerals and all the good stuff that they have would be trapped in there and couldn't be returned to the soil. So they actually have specific enzymes whose purpose is once the circulation stops, once the plant decides it's dead, these enzymes trigger and they start putting holes in the cell wall. Anyone here can? I know you can. So freeze vegetables or anything, especially freezing vegetables. One of the steps when you're freezing a vegetable is called blanching, where you take the beans and you put them in boiling water for a minute, then you take it off and ice them off quick. What you're doing is you're screwing up that enzyme that's putting the holes in the cell wall. Because if you don't do that, then when you freeze it in your freezer, even the green beans are going to turn mushy and not so good. So you want to stop that. But in the case of plants for tea, so like the dewberry, the blackberry, later on we'll see the yopon holly, you actually want to harness those enzymes and let them work for about 2 weeks to drill holes through that cell wall. So then when you use the leaf, the flavor is going to be much, much better. It's the same thing like, we'll talk about it anyway. If you go to a bar and you order a mojito and they have the mint leaves in it, if you see the bartender just mashing the heck out of the mint leaf, well, you're going to get a good mint flavor, but you're also going to get a lot of chlorophyll, which is a bitter flavor to it. If the bartender takes it and just like slaps it like 3 times and then puts it in there, that's a good bartender. So that's because he's ruptured the cells, but not so much that the chlorophyll can come out too, but the mint flavor, the oils can. So, when you're after flavors in a leaf, you need to do something to break that cell wall to get the flavor out. Another thing, Medicinally, the root of the blackberry and the dewberry, it was a anti-diarrhea medicine. So if they were having problems, if they get what they call beaver fever in Boy Scouts and you drink some bad water or something, they would dig up some root, chop it up, and make a tea out of it. In that case, you don't wait 2 weeks. You just chop it up and crush it. Because 2 weeks with diarrhea sucks, I would think. So you want to do it fast. So those are the uses of the dewberry and the blackberry. So they're pretty much interchangeable in the wild food.